Hello and a very good evening. You're watching the news at 6 on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are the headlines this evening. Chief Justice of India and the Union government at loggerheads over the appointment of judges in High Court. CJI calls government's attitude lackadaisical. Government hits back saying 120 judges have been appointed in its tenure. Revolutionary Cuban leader Fidel Castro dies aged 90. Castro was in poor health since 2006 due to an intestinal ailment. And world condoles the death of the Cuban leader. President, Vice President and Prime Minister describe Castro as India's friend, extend support to Cuba in this difficult moment. Chief Justice T.S. Thakur once again lashed out at the centre on Saturday for sitting over the appointments of High Court judges. He said the government's attitude has been lackadaisical and that's why courtrooms are lying vacant without judges. Justice Thakur's charges, however, were refuted by the Union Law Minister, who said 120 High Court judges have been appointed so far.
Very important day.
Chief Justice of India T.S. Thakur and the centre once again at loggerheads over the issue of appointment of judges in high courts across India. Using strong words, Chief Justice Thakur said on Saturday that it's because of the centre's inaction in strengthening judicial infrastructure that 500 courts are without judges today.
500 High Court judges should be working today. They are not working. There were times when you would have judges, but you didn't have courtrooms. Today you have courtrooms, vacant, locked, but no judges.
Justice Thakur also clarified that in principle the judiciary was not against the formation of tribunals because it would relieve court duties. But the problem arose from the lack of adequate infrastructure provided to these tribunals.
The problem starts with the insufficiency of infrastructure with these tribunals. Today, the situation has come where no Supreme Court judge, retired or sitting, is ready to go as chairman of these tribunals.
Opposition Congress also lashed out at the centre, saying it's high time they do something to increase the judge population ratio.
It is totally unacceptable, whatever be the reason, that over 400 to 500 posts are vacant. 33% plus of the lower judiciary is vacant. 40% of the High Court judiciary is vacant. This is vacancy within the 13 judges per million of population ratio which we have, which is, by the way, one of the lowest in the world.
Union Law Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad, however, disagreed and said the government has made 120 appointments this year.
This year we have made 120 appointment. The second highest of 121 is of 2013. Since 1990, there has only been 80 appointments. 5,000 vacancies are there in the lower judiciary, in which the government of India has no role to play. That is something only for the judiciary to take. As far as infrastructure is concerned, that is a continuous process. So many tribunals are there, but we need to understand that every retired Supreme Court judge cannot be given the same bungalow of the same size as the Supreme Court.
The centre and the top court have been at war since the Supreme Court struck down the National Judicial Appointments Commission Act, which was brought in to end the more than 20-year-old practice of judges appointing judges under the collegium system, with the government having no say in the process. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Moving on now, Fidel Castro, the Cuban revolutionary leader who built a communist state on the doorstep of the United States and for 5 decades defied U.S. efforts to topple him, died on Friday. Castro was in poor health since an intestinal ailment nearly killed him in 2006. He was 90. Here's a report. Cuba's former president Fidel Castro, one of the world's longest-serving and most iconic leaders, died aged 90. His younger brother and successor as president, Raúl Castro, announced the news on state television.
Con profundo dolor comparezco para informar a nuestro pueblo, a los amigos de nuestra América y del mundo, que hoy, 25 de noviembre del 2016, a las 10:29 de la noche,
Barring the occasional newspaper column, Fidel Castro had essentially been retired from political life for several years. In April, Fidel Castro gave a rare speech on the final day of the country's Communist Party Congress. "I'll soon be 90, he said, adding that this was something he'd never imagined. Castro was the longest-serving non-royal leader of the 20th century. He temporarily handed over power to his brother in 2006 as he was recovering from an acute intestinal ailment. Raul Castro officially became president 2 years later. News of the former president's death left some in Havana stunned.
Estamos muy tristes por el fallecimiento de nuestro comandante y aunque esté muerto siempre va a seguir nuestro comandante.
Muy consternado. Él fue nuestro líder y el líder es parte de los pueblos del mundo. Él se por resumir una sola palabra, es el caballo.
Meanwhile, hundreds of residents of Miami took to the streets to celebrate the passing of Castro. Crowds of people cheered and waved flags just hours after the announcement.
They're celebrating because they know that the fathers and the grandfathers were hurt by this person. So there's no divide here tonight. Everybody is celebrating. All the generations are celebrating the death of a dictator.
Throughout the Cold War, Fidel Castro was a thorn in Washington's side. An accomplished tactician on the battlefield, he and his small army of guerrillas overthrew the military leader Fulgencio Batista in 1959 to widespread popular support. Within 2 years of taking power, he declared the revolution to be Marxist-Leninist in nature and allied the island nation firmly to the Soviet Union. Yet, despite the constant threat of a US invasion as well as the long-standing economic embargo on the island, Castro managed to maintain a communist revolution in a nation just 90 miles off the coast of Florida. Despised by his critics as much as he was revered by his followers, he outlasted 10 US presidents and survived scores of attempts on his life by the CIA. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television. Well, we'll slip into a short break now, but on the other side, we'll show you how the world has reacted to Fidel Castro's passing away.
When we see stars with the naked eye, we see them twinkle. And that is not because that the star itself is twinkling, it is because the light is passing through the Earth's atmosphere. Disturbances or irregularities in the atmosphere cause the twinkling. One of the Nobel Prizes in physics was given to people who studied one very particular interesting pulsar.
Watch Eureka with Senior Professor Yashwant Gupta, Dean of GMRT Observatory, Pune on Rajya Sabha Television.
The sacred relics of Buddha were unearthed in Piprava in Uttar Pradesh. Buddhist monks from all over the world visit the National Museum to pay their respects. These charred bone fragments of Buddha are housed in the gold canopy gifted by the royal family of Thailand.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Harappan sites are a treasure trove of sophisticated pottery. These creations show tremendous advances by the potter's wheel. Creations like the perforated jar, the copper axe, the chisel and knives astound even present-day archaeologists. Figurines depicting yoga poses, chess pieces display a complexity unsurpassed even by later-day civilizations, all of which make the Harappan civilization truly unique.
Ghatam, one of the oldest and most unique percussion instruments of southern India. You can play it not only with your fingers, but palms, wrists and heels as well. You'd be surprised, but the air inside the Ghatam reverberates, creating the musical notes. 5 elements of nature, earth, water, air, fire and space, make up the composition of this beautiful musical piece, which has found an apt place in most of the ancient books.
Gyan Chopper is the ancient version of Indian snakes and ladders. This intriguing game was popular among the old, the young and the rulers as well. The chopper has its origin in the Jain philosophy. It tells the story of virtue, symbolized by the ladders, rewarded, while the vices shown by the snakes are punished. Each square, in turn, also narrates a message of wisdom.
Art arisen from a multi-hued cultural canvas. Tradition and cultural fervor dating back centuries. And encircling them all, there's a magic that awes. Embrace your nation's brilliant human warmth. Watch Colours of India, Sundays at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
The splendid, grand and massive neo-Buddhist copper dome of the Rashtrapati Bhavan. It gets its influence from stupa at Sanchi. The dome is more than twice the height of the rest of the building. The reinforced concrete shell of the outer dome began to be formed during the beginning of 1929. The last stone of the dome was laid on April 6, 1929.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, the world has reacted with shock and sadness on the death of Cuban leader Fidel Castro. He outlasted 9 US presidents in power, overseeing a bitter relationship between the two countries for several decades. President Pranab Mukherjee, Vice President Mohammad Hamid Ansari and Prime Minister Narendra Modi condoled Castro's death, calling him a friend of India.
Deeply sad to learn this demise of Fidel Castro. Though he was aged and suffering for a long period of time,
और हम तकरीबन आधे घंटे तक उनसे मिसेस कास्ट्रो से, उनके बेटे से, उनके घर पे बैठ के उनसे बड़ी बातें की, बहुत सी बातें। दुनिया में जो हो रहा था उसकी उनको पूरी खबर थी, मगर हिंदुस्तान की जो याददाश्त उनको थी वो भी अपनी जगह पे थी। उन्होंने हमको कुछ तस्वीरें दिखाई, एक एल्बम दिखाया जिसमें कि पुरानी तस्वीरें इंडिया की सब थी। तो हिंदुस्तान के लिए उनके दिल में जो लगाव था वो बहुत क्लियर था।
Fidel Castro will remain a legend and will remain a source of inspiration as one of the greatest revolutionary heroes of our times. I mean, he steered Cuba from being a very backward country into what it is today. It has got the world's highest levels of literacy, development in medical sciences.
Castro dominated the world progressive and revolutionary movements, and he was a figure who inspired everyone, all of us who were young and students at that time. For us, the hero, revolutionary hero, used to be Fidel Castro. So in that sense, it's an end of an era, but in another sense, his revolutionary legacy will live forever.
Fidel Castro is a person who evokes many strong reactions this way and that way. But even his worst enemies will not deny that he is an icon of an era. He is a figure who represented an era, and his achievements in that era against humongous unimaginable adversities has to be saluted.
Well, in other news now, 28th November will witness a nationwide protest against demonetization being organized by 15 opposition parties that have come together on the issue. While regional rivals have come together, they may take up different tactics to maintain their identities. The left parties have called a 12-hour bandh to mark the day. But in West Bengal, where they have a huge presence, Mamata Banerjee's Trinamool Congress has opposed the protest.
The opposition parties will launch a countrywide protest Akrosh Divas on Monday, November 28, over the BJP-led NDA regime's demonetization move. Around 15 opposition parties have joined hands for the protest. This comes in the backdrop of a continuing deadlock in Parliament, with the government refusing to agree to a discussion in Lok Sabha that ends in a vote. The opposition has demanded a rollback of the decision if the government cannot ensure a better implementation of the move. On Friday, they also demanded an apology from the Prime Minister.
28 तारीख को सोमवार को पूरे देश में जन आक्रोश दिवस मनाया जाएगा, जिसमें डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पे, ब्लॉक लेवल पे, स्टेट कैपिटल पे लोग अपना आक्रोश दिखाएंगे, अलग अलग तरीके से दिखाएंगे। कोई तोड़ फोड़ नहीं करेंगे, लेकिन आराम से सभाएं करेंगे, छोटी मीटिंग करेंगे, बड़ी मीटिंग करेंगे, प्रोसेशन निकालेंगे। ये एक आक्रोश तरीका
नहीं, उसको उनको भीतर आकर के सारी चीज कहना चाहिए। ये सदन चल रहा, लोकसभा चल रही, तो इससे ज्यादा बेहतर फोरम तो कोई है नहीं।
Uphold the constitutional morality. Parliament is supreme in our democracy, and Parliament represents the will of the people. Mr. Modi, the Prime Minister, should come to the Parliament. He should listen to the debate. He should reply to the debate or respond to the debate. Instead of that, Mr. Prime Minister goes on making speeches outside Parliament.
BSP Supremo Mayawati addressed a press conference on Saturday, slamming the government over the move.
तो इनका ये फैसला पूरे तौर से 100% अपने राजनीतिक स्वार्थ में ही लिया गया आका जा रहा है, जिससे पूरे देश में अफरा तफरी व त्राही मची हुई है। आर्थिक इमरजेंसी जैसे हालात पैदा हो गए हैं, जो अति निंदनीय है।
Meanwhile, West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee will sit on a dharna in Patna on November 30th to demand a rollback of the centre's decision. Banerjee, who is at the forefront of the agitation against scrapping of high-denomination currency notes, has planned to hold protests in different parts of the country. TMC has also invited other parties to join the sit-in.
ये ऑल इंडिया तृणमूल कांग्रेस का प्रोग्राम है। ऑल इंडिया तृणमूल कांग्रेस के तरफ से हम लोग सबका आमंत्रण करेंगे।
Earlier in the day, Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar supported demonetization but criticized its poor implementation.
नोटबंदी से काम नहीं चलेगा। नोटबंदी के साथ अब हम आग्रह करेंगे
केंद्र सरकार से और माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी से कि भाई इसके साथ अब बेनामी संपत्ति को भी हिट करिए मजबूती।
Even as most political parties criticize the government's move, many citizens feel that it is a good step to flush out black money.
बिल्कुल 100% उनका जो हमारे को जो स्टेटमेंट है, उनका जो पॉलिसी है, हम तो बहुत एक्सेप्ट करते हैं उसके लिए।
On November 8, the union government had banned 500 and rupees 1000 currency notes. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, joining me for a chat right now is our correspondent Vishal Dahiya. Vishal, thus far, of course, the opposition parties have shown a lot of unity. But considering that several of these parties are regional, nemesis or have faced a lot of difficulty as far as the regional level to coexist, these parties have now come together to organize this particular protest. How successful is it going to be?
Well, yes, that is definitely an important point which you mentioned. The very fact that these parties sort of, at the regional level are pitted against each other for retaining their respective political space in their respective states. But all of them have come together now, and given the fact that the main opposition party, Congress, is also on their side, the opposition unity, which is very evident inside the parliament, on the floor of the House since last few days, it will be tested on Monday when this this call for Bandh will be implemented. Although there has already been a sort of a setback for this entire unity to the very fact that Trinamool Congress has refused to participate in that. Now, this is, events like this or developments like this were bound to happen, given the fact that the parties which are part of this particular, united front do not see eye to eye with each other on the regional level. And the same is the case in which Trinamool Congress has stepped back because, it seems that Mamata Banerjee would not want to be seen on the same platform as the left leaders, specifically in her own state. And, she would rather want to be seen as someone who has taken the initiative in opposing this particular move of demonetization and would be okay with all other opposition parties joining her, but not in the case when, she's to share the same platform with the left leader. So similar kind of sentiments might, surface in other states and in other, with other political parties as well, be it Uttar Pradesh or Bihar. But overall, if you look at the kind of, united front which all these opposition parties have put up inside the parliament, it seems that as of now, the unity of the opposition parties is still intact.
All right, Vishal Dahiya, we'll have to leave it at that. Thanks so much for joining us there with those details. In other news now, normalcy returned to the Kashmir rally on Saturday after the separatist shutdown was relaxed for the weekend for only the second time in over 4 months. Government offices and business establishments reopened and vehicles returned to the roads due to the relaxation. Kashmir has been under a clampdown for nearly 5 months since the killing of Hizbul militant Burhan Wani. Meanwhile, a BSF soldier was injured on Saturday as militants ambushed an army convoy in Jammu and Kashmir's Handwara district. Militants reportedly opened fire when the convoy was passing through Wadi Pora area. The army has cordoned off the area and a search operation to nab the militants is underway.
कर्फ्यू, बंदिशें, हड़तालें, इनसे कोई मसला हल होने वाला नहीं है। गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया और गवर्नमेंट ऑफ पाकिस्तान को आमने सामने आना चाहिए और इस दिरीना मसला का हम चाहते हैं कि जिसमें हम ताजिर लोग, क्योंकि मैं बहसत एक ताजिर बात कर रहा हूं, कि हम ताजिर लोग इसमें पिस चुके हैं।
Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Hyderabad to address the 51st Post-Independence DGP's IGP's Conference 2016 at the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel National Police Academy. The conference is being attended by DGPs and IGPs of various states. The Prime Minister paid tribute at the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel statue in the city and also paid homage to martyrs at the Martyrs Column. The 3-day conference began on Friday with cross-border terrorism and terror funding high on the agenda. It was formally inaugurated by Home Minister Rajnath Singh, who said that demonetization had devastated Naxals and other terrorists, requesting the Director of the Intelligence Bureau to compile a comprehensive report on how demonetization has hampered terror funding. The Home Minister also commended the efforts of the police forces of the states, UTs and Centre for all-round improvement in the internal security situation in the country. Well, let's now get to a roundup of the other national news in nationwide. 3 people were killed and 6 others injured on Saturday in a devastating fire that destroyed over 150 slums in Jammu. The fire started around midnight in the Narwal slum, which shelters mostly Rohingya Muslims uprooted from Myanmar. The cause of the fire is yet to be ascertained. The JNU administration has issued show-cause notices to 20 students, including sedition-accused Kanhaiya Kumar and Umar Khalid, seeking explanation for the alleged illegal confinement of the Vice-Chancellor and other officials in the varsity building. A group of agitating students had confined the VC and other senior officials in the administrative building for over 20 hours last month, alleging inaction on the administration's part in locating missing student Najib Ahmed. In a bid to further intensify the crackdown against liquor, Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar on Saturday instructed the police to check whether those linked with liquor trade previously had found an alternate vocation and to book those who were continuing with the trade. He also asked senior police officials to take stock of the conduct of policemen at the lower level and find out how the illegal supply of liquor was still continuing. Around to some cricket now, where India bowled with a lot of perseverance to restrict England to 268 for 8 on the first day of the third cricket test match in Mohali on Saturday. The Indian bowlers dominated the day as the hosts took early control over the English side. Despite some fielding errors, the hosts managed to get rid of skipper Alistair Cook, Hasib Hamid, batting mainstay Joe Root and Moeen Ali in the morning session after the visitors elected to bat. Johnny Bairstow was the top scorer with 89 runs, while Jos Buttler contributed 43 runs for England. Well, here's a roundup of the other sports news in Sports Beat. Rio Olympic silver medalist PV Sindhu and Sameer Verma will play their semi-final matches at the Hong Kong Open Super Series tournament today. While Sameer will clash with third seed Jan Jorgensen of Denmark, Sindhu will take on local girl Nang Yi Chung, who had defeated Saina Nehwal in the quarterfinals last evening. In hockey, India will have to settle for a third or fourth place playoff against Malaysia on Sunday as they went down to New Zealand 3-2 at the Four Nations Invitational Tournament today. India dominated the position in the first quarter, creating multiple circle penetrations but were unable to offer clear-cut opportunities on goal. Teen golfer Aditi Ashok put herself in line for a second straight title as she moved into shared lead at the end of the third round of the Qatar Ladies Open on Friday. Aditi shared the lead with Nana Korsmansen from Denmark at 12 under par heading into the final round at the Doha Golf Club. The other Indian to make the cut, Neha Tripathi, added a round of 72 to her earlier rounds of 74 and 70 to be tied 43rd. Well, the nation remembered the victims of 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks on its 8th anniversary today. Various events are being held across the country, especially in Mumbai, to pay tributes to those who lost their lives in the horrific attack. We leave you with these images.
से तो मैं कभी उभर नहीं पाई हूँ, आशा हमेशा मेरे ज़हन में बसा।